Welcome to Josh's podcast. Thank you for dropping in. This is the place where doctrine and life mingle. I hope you enjoy. Hey everybody, I am sitting here thinking about what led up to a lot of what happened with the Holocaust, Nazi Germany. Reading about eugenics and a lot of work on eugenics. If you haven't read up on eugenics, really began in the early 1900s, even late 1800s. And Michael Geyer is who I'm currently reading, has a lot to say about eugenics. And I mean, this work is going on in like 1903. 1910 or something like that, in the first decade of the 20th century. This didn't start with Hitler. This started as what was thought to be a scientific phenomena. This idea that we can control the purity of race by means of something like eugenics. It was being propounded by the scientific elite. So you have the laboratory, right? This idea of the laboratory, that's what I call it. It's the laboratory. It's where the innovation happens, conceptually speaking. But it wasn't only propounded by the scientific elite, because in the case of like Germany, for example, it was propounded by scientific elite all over the place, all over the world, all over the West. I mean, Michael Geyer was an American chytologist. So this idea was widespread, scientifically speaking, all over the West, at least all over the West, maybe more. But it was bolstered, it was published, it was approved, especially in the case of Germany, and in the case of the United States now, in the case of abortion, by lawmakers. So you have this relationship between the laboratory on the one hand and lawyers on the other. You have the scientific elite on one hand and the legal elite on the other hand. And when you have those two groups working together to accomplish an agenda, something like eugenics, for example, bad things happen. You have this idea that, we can derive ethics from biology and the natural sciences. Sam Harris propounds this idea. It is a terrible idea, and history proves it. Because the thing about the natural sciences is, to be engaged in the natural sciences means that you are engaged in induction. That means you're not engaged in arguing from general principles and drawing necessary conclusions from the premises, which would be deduction. That's not the kind of work you're engaged in. So it's impossible. Your ethics are always going to be based on what we think we know, in the case of trying to derive ethics out of something like science. So whenever the scientific elite and the legal elite get together and science is saying one thing, and then the legal elites go ahead and codify that quote-unquote discovery, say eugenics. Now you have lawmakers who are making laws according to this science, regardless of whether or not it's right or wrong. They are enforcing the findings of science through legislation, which means that legislation is now based on our ability to engage the natural sciences properly, which we know is a very fragile and fallible process, right? So you basically have ethics is always up in the air. And right now, lawmakers still make decisions according to the present findings of science. I mean, until something more meta-ethical breaks through, like, for example, the church and Christians in their pursuit to end abortion and their campaign to end abortion. Something meta-ethical has to break through. Something that's based on something more than just biology has to break through and influence lawmakers. And then lawmakers have to make laws based on something that's not just merely derived out of the natural sciences. That's what's happening right now with end abortion now and things like that. See, some lawmakers are starting to make decisions not based purely on the findings of the scientific community or what they think they find, right? But they're making meta-ethical decisions. This isn't right. This isn't right because, take the libertarians, for example, the non-aggression principle. This isn't right because it's an axiom for us that we should not aggress against another human being. And in terms of Christians actually fighting this fight, you're saying this isn't right because God says it's not right. And our ethical system is grounded in God. Our morals are grounded in God. Right? So we have a meta-ethic. We have something that transcends our ethics. Whereas with this kind of union between the scientific elite and the legal elite, you don't have a meta-ethic. You have people who are coming to certain scientific conclusions, and in the terms, take like Michael Geyer and the influence of Mendelism and the use of speciation, a wrong application of speciation, that was influencing something like the German Workers' Party in the early 30s, and which eventually led up to the T4 Project in 1939, where they began exterminating invalids, involuntarily exterminating invalids. It wouldn't be any better if it was voluntary, but it was involuntary. They were loading people up on buses, taking them to gas chambers, and exterminating them. There was over 200,000 people who died. This is before the Holocaust even began, officially. And by the time the T4 Project ended in, I think, 1941, you had 6 figures worth of deaths. All because the scientific elite and the legal elite teamed up. And lawmakers were making laws based on the fallible scientific exploration of the scientists, who had philosophical presuppositions coming to the table of research with plenty of philosophical pre-commitments. So I was just thinking about that. I hope that's helpful, enlightening, whatever. If it was, please, I'd enjoy a share. I'd love that. I'd appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for watching my channel. And if for whatever reason you didn't appreciate it, please give me a thumbs down and let me know why, and we can engage from there. God bless. Have a wonderful rest of your day.